This week, we went to the architect's office for the first time, and it was nice to finally meet the team in their own environment and try to understand how the design process is going to work going forward. Essentially, from what I've learned, the design is staged over 5 different stages. Each design stage will get into more and more detail, and some of these stages do overlap with each other. Each stage is approximately going to take between 4 to 8 weeks depending on how well we progress. Stage 1 is known as feasibility design, and within that feasibility design, we're going to look at all the different spaces that we can try to incorporate in the area. The architect is going to try to understand our story behind what we're trying to do and incorporate those elements of our story within the actual design as well. So that's going to influence the design quite heavily. Stage 2 is concept design, and it's essentially the architects taking all of our ideas for this place and start to do some preliminary designs, not detailed designs by any stretch of the imagination, but just preliminary designs to see how our ideas can look and feel in the space that we're trying to create. Stage 3 is known as spatial coordination, and it's when we start to look at all the different spaces that we want within the facility. We've got the training academy going into the basement, and we've got the dental practice going into the ground floor. So we're going to look at all the different spaces that we want within the training facility and the dental practice and how all of that is going to fit together. Stage 4 is known as detailed design. By this stage, we would have organized all the layouts. We know exactly which room is going where, and now we start to design the finer elements of each room. Stage 5 is known as the tender process and construction phase, and it's at this stage when we go out to tender to contractors, and I'm sure as this process develops I will learn more about that. And it's essentially when we get all of our information and we pass it over to the contractors. Apparently there are 2 ways in which this project can be done. One is known as the traditional way, the other is known as design and build. Traditional is essentially where the architectural team and all the other team members that I described earlier put together a pack. It's a very detailed pack. It details every aspect of the design and every aspect of the build. That's then transferred over to the contractor at stage 5 that I mentioned, and the contractor takes all of that information and then implements it within the building. The design and build route is essentially bringing in the contractor a lot earlier in the process so they can start reviewing the design a lot earlier and giving their advice. Now, there are advantages and disadvantages of each route. We're not completely sure of those advantages or disadvantages, and we're not completely sure that they make full sense to us. Remember, this is the first time we're doing it, so all these terms are quite new to us. Our architect and project manager believes the traditional route is the correct way to implement this project. Now, I've got a cousin who's a quantitative surveyor, a cost consultant, who believes that design and build is the correct way of doing this project. Now, he's done several of these projects in the past, and his advice is to do design and build, and he's already recommended a contractor for us to use as well. So Richard and I, over the last week or so, have been toying with whether we go down the traditional route or whether we go down the design and build route. Again, it's one of those decisions that we're not 100% sure about because we've never done this before. But we've decided we're going to take the advice of our architect and project manager, and we're going to go down the traditional route. Hopefully this is the right decision. If it's not, I'm sure I'm not going to hear the last of it from my cousin. So fingers crossed once again that we're making the right decision. Time will tell whether we have or not.